What happens when the woman who holds your heart treats every act of kindness like a debt to be settled and paid off?
What happens when the man she's leaving behind refuses to beg, but can't quite let go either?
This is the story of Jiang Shan, a man standing at the edge of a divorce he didn't choose.
Navigating a world where every small gesture carries the weight of what once was.
He isn't loud about his pain. He doesn't chase. He doesn't plead.
But make no mistake, every choice he makes is calculated, deliberate, quietly devastating.
And the woman walking away from him, Shang Li, is no villain in this story.
She's brilliant, composed, and absolutely certain she knows what she's doing.
She just might be wrong about all of it.
The morning begins the way mornings often do in this household, with careful choreography.
Old Madame Jiang waits inside while Shang Li opens the car door for her, ever polished, ever precise.
Their daughter, little Zhang Nanian, bounces out with a cheerful goodbye to everyone and slides into the car.
Jiang Shan watches all of it from a careful distance, already measuring the space between himself and this woman. He drives Nanian to school, and for a brief moment, the world feels almost ordinary. But ordinary is a luxury neither of them can afford right now.
By mid-morning, Jiang Shan is deep in work when old Madame Jiang's call comes through.
The surgery was a success. He exhales, the tension he'd been holding for days finally releasing.
Old Madame Shen had resisted the procedure for weeks, and getting her into that operating room had cost both families something.
Not long after he sets the phone down, Shen Li sends a message, a lunch invitation.
He reads it. He doesn't reply. His silence says everything, and she understands it perfectly. No follow-up message arrives. She already knows how to read him, even now, especially now.
Around noon, his friend Joe Jim calls with news that stops him mid-sentence.
He'd spotted Shang Li outside a restaurant, helping old Madame Jiang up the stairs.
The first question out of Joe Jimin's mouth, have they gotten back together?
Jiang Shan explains, calmly flipping through a book as he does, that old Madame Shen had been hospitalized.
They visited together. Shang Li is simply being considerate, grateful, nothing more.
But as he says it, something settles heavily in his chest.
The more courteous and thoughtful she acts, the clearer the message becomes.
She isn't reaching out. She's closing accounts. Every kindness is a farewell in disguise.
He gets off work late that evening, arriving at the hospital just after 7.
As soon as he steps out of his car, he spots Zimingguan leaning against his vehicle. Their eyes meet for a fraction of a second. Neither speaks. Jiang Shan closes his door and walks past without another glance.
Inside the ward, the scene is exactly what he expected. Shang Li, Bai Shen, and Shan Jing, all together.
Zimingguan had been downstairs. The 4 of them had come as a group. The picture is clear.
Old Madame Shen reaches for Jiang Shan's hand the moment he sits beside her. She asks if he's tired, tells him to go eat with King Li and the others.
He thanks her and says he already ate at the company. It's a small lie, told gently.
Shang Li takes the flowers from his hands, and he lets her, without ceremony.
He doesn't close the distance between them. Old Madame Shen notices. She doesn't push it.
After a while, she grows tired, and she asks Shang Li to see Jiang Shan out.
They move together toward the elevator. Him, Shang Li, Bai Xian, and Shan Jing. Inside the elevator, someone's eyes never leave him. He keeps his gaze fixed on the doors. The moment the elevator opens, he steps out first, setting the pace. Behind him, Shan Jing leans close to Shang Li and whispers, "Her attitude toward you has really changed." Has she really let you go? Shang Li watches Jiang Shan's back and says nothing at all. Outside the hospital, Shang Li calls after him. A quiet reminder, Nanian is at the Jiang family. He doesn't stop. He doesn't turn. He simply keeps walking toward the parking lot.
Back at the Jiang residence, Nanian runs at him the moment he walks in, wrapping around his leg.
She bobbles with excitement. She wants to stay a few more days, visit great-grandma at the hospital, go skiing.
Before Jiang Shan can even respond,
Jiang Shan and Jiang Yuni are already cheering, begging to come along.
He has no choice. He agrees, and Nadian immediately pulls out her phone to tell her mother.
The next morning at the hospital, Shan Qingli has turned the ward into a miniature office. Documents spread across the table, phone in hand, working while she waits.
The moment Nadian walks in, she spots the snacks and milk tea laid out on the side table and lights up.
Shan Qingli had someone prepare them, knowing Nanian was coming. She hands Jiang Shan a portion as well. Quiet, deliberate, without making anything of it.
He says thank you. That's the full extent of their warmth this morning.
Old Madam Shen makes the decision for all of them. Shan Qingli should go skiing with the group.
Looking after 3 children alone is too much for one person. The housekeeper can manage here.
Shan Qingli says simply, understood. And just like that, the outing doubles in complication.
At the ski resort, Nanian is bundled up and grinning while Shan Qingli adjusts her goggles.
Then, a phone call pulls Shan Qingli a few steps away. She speaks quietly, finishes with, "I'll come later."
Nanian asks who called. Shan Qingli deflects with a question of her own.
At noon, would Nanian rather eat with Mom or Dad?
The girl looks genuinely confused.
Aren't we eating together? The question hangs in the cold air, unanswered.
Jiang Shan snaps his goggles into place and looks at Shan Qingli directly. He asks, "Is the divorce still not settled?" His voice is flat, the words like stones dropped in still water.
She meets his gaze without flinching and says if he needs money urgently, she can arrange a partial transfer.
He opens his mouth to clarify, but Nanian calls for him from the slope. The moment passes.
And then his phone rings, his uncle, Jiang Shan, with news that immediately snaps everything into focus. Someone from the Shen Group has reached out wanting to discuss a collaboration.
Jiang Shan looks at Shan Qingli across the snow and understands instantly.
He walks to her and lays it all out. No hesitation, no softening. He knows she doesn't want to owe them anything. This is her way of settling a debt. But visiting old Madam Shen with his grandmother wasn't done because of her. And accepting a project from the Shen Group while she loves Zimingguan, that's a trap. The Sun family would never allow it. If things between her and Zimingguan ever wavered, today's favor would become tomorrow's leverage. The Jiang family would bear the consequences.
He ends with 4 words delivered like ice. I don't dare accept.
And then, quieter still, the real message beneath the message. After the divorce, he tells her he won't bother her again. She can rest assured. In his mind, everything she does is another way of drawing a line. The urgency behind it, the careful generosity, it all points to one fear. She thinks he might cling. She's making it impossible for him to. After a few seconds of silence, she says simply, "All right," and that is the end of it. He relays his decision to his uncle and then goes back to skiing like none of it happened. For most of the afternoon, he stays close to the children. He and Shan Qingli barely speak. When she does initiate anything, it's minimal. A nod, a practical word, nothing more. Around noon, she tells him she has somewhere to be and leaves. Nanian asks if they're eating together. Shan Qingli says she has things to handle. Go ski first. 10 minutes after she drives away, the divorce lawyer, Peng Shan, calls.
Shan Qingli has instructed him to add 3 additional properties to the agreement.
Combined, they're worth over 100 million. His expression doesn't change at all. She doesn't trust him. That's what this means to him. She needs a guarantee he won't come back for more. He tells the lawyer calmly, "No objections. Handle the rest for me." What he doesn't know yet is where those 3 properties are located, and what those locations will reveal about the woman who chose them. Meanwhile, Shan Qingli has picked up Zimingguan and arrived at a private restaurant. Inside, Xiang Rufang and Zoli Hai are already there, smiling and waiting. The conversation turns quickly to the Jiang family, to the Shen Group project offer, to old alliances shifting. Xiang Rufang is nervous,
If the Jiang family rises again, Zimingguan and Shen Li's future gets complicated.
Zimingguan tells her calmly, they didn't take the project. The Jiang family refused.
Shang Rufang stares, then understands. They refuse to keep Shen Li indebted to them.
To keep the entanglement alive. What a calculated move, she says, clearly unsettled.
Zimingguan tells her not to worry. King Li will handle it properly. She always does.
And then Shang Rufang thinks of something else entirely. Has he gone to see old Madame Shen?
Zimingguan's answer is immediate. No. She looks disappointed. He doesn't elaborate at first.
Then he explains it isn't appropriate for him to appear right now.
Shang Li has carefully stabilized things. Old Madame Shen still needs time to recover fully.
And right now, she still needs the Jiang family's goodwill to make that happen smoothly. So he stays back, patient, trusting, not a flicker of doubt in his expression.
Back at the ski resort, the children have moved from slopes to movie plans.
Jiang Nanian announces she wants to stay at great-grandma's house one more day.
Jiang Shan reminds her that Zan and Yunhee need to focus on homework tomorrow.
Nadian says she doesn't need them. She'll just play on her tablet alone.
He lets it go, sends Shen Li a message asking her to pick Nanian up later.
Shen Li doesn't reply for a long time. The message just sits there, unanswered.
That evening at the Jiang residence, old Madame Jiang is glowing having Nanian around.
The little girl has a gift for coaxing grandmothers. Sweet words, wide eyes, perfect timing. Old Madame Jiang laughs more in one evening than she has in weeks.
Shang Li still hasn't replied to the message.
The next morning, a new message from Shang Li arrives. She's sending someone to pick Nanian up soon.
Jiang Shan doesn't reply. A few seconds later, Nanian's phone rings. It's her mother.
She puts the phone down and announces, Mom's taking her out.
Jiang Shan says calmly, "Your mom already told me. Go if you want." 30 minutes later, the car arrives. Old Madame Jiang watches it pull away, visibly reluctant.
She complains quietly. I thought she was generous. 2 days, and she's already in a rush to take her back.
Then she goes inside, both wistful and tight-lipped, saying nothing more.
And then Peng Shan calls with the full details of the new divorce agreement.
3 properties. Total value? Approximately 1 billion. No issues identified.
Shang Li's lawyer adds, if Jiang Shan needs funds now, she can prepay a portion.
He thinks about it for a moment. Yesterday, she misread his intentions entirely.
But the money from his grandmother's birthday auction has already come in. He isn't desperate.
Still, he makes a decision. Have her prepay it. Anything could still change before the divorce is final.
Since she wants to give it, why not accept? He tells Peng Shan, proceed.
When the documents arrive an hour later, his eyes land on the property locations first.
He reads the addresses once, then stops. Reads them again. All 3 properties are in the same residential area as the Jiang family. And not just anywhere in the neighborhood. Each one is close to the Jiang residence itself. He had worried about this, even after she helped him buy the house near his grandmother. He'd still been concerned. Old Madame Jiang likes to walk. Running into the Sun family constantly would be difficult. Now he's staring at 3 properties that solve that problem entirely, chosen as if she read his mind.
These choices didn't happen by accident. She thought about what he actually needed.
Not what would cost her the least, what would matter most to him.
He looks at the second document. 1 billion transferred directly, first.
He already knew she was wealthy. He'd seen what she gave at the auction. But being able to move 20 to 30 billion so casually still surprises him.
He confirms everything, contacts Peng Shan, and the funds transfer not long after.
The property certificates would follow in a few days. Everything is moving forward, cleanly, quietly. That afternoon, old Madame Jiang wants to visit the hospital. She's been worried since the surgery. Jiang Shan goes with her, because come Monday, work will swallow him whole again.
As they pull into the hospital, he sees Zimingguan standing outside his car in the cold winter air.
Not sitting inside, not moving toward the entrance, just standing there, visible,
deliberate.
Jiang Shan understands exactly what this is. A signal. A small, quiet performance for his benefit.
We are doing well. There is no space for you between us. That is what the posture says.
His grandmother is looking down and doesn't notice. He looks away, takes her arm, and walks forward.
If Guan is downstairs, Shan Qingli is upstairs. That much is obvious.
Inside the ward, he's proven right. She's there, composed as always, greeting them politely.
Old Madame Jiang and old Madame Shen clasp hands like old friends reuniting after a long absence. For nearly half an hour, the four of them sit together, and it almost feels like something ordinary.
Then, Shen Qingli says she's going out for a bit. Old Madame Shen waves her off without looking up.
She leaves, and she doesn't come back for over 30 minutes.
Jiang Shan notices the tea in his grandmother's cup has gone cold. He picks up the small teapot himself.
Brews a fresh one, pours for both grandmothers, then for himself.
Old Madame Shen watches him, and only then realizes King Li has been gone a long time. She mutters, "Who knows what she's off doing? She's been out so long." Jiang Shan doesn't say anything, but the thought arrives uninvited. Guan was still downstairs. She'd gone to keep him company, afraid he might be bored waiting alone in the cold.
He sets the teapot down, takes a sip. His expression doesn't change. When Shen Qingli pushes the door open and steps back in, old Madame Shen snorts.
I thought you weren't coming back. Qingli smiles without replying, doesn't defend herself.
Old Madame Shen pointedly compliments Jiang Shan's tea. Qingli still doesn't join the conversation. But later, when the pot runs dry, she comes over without being asked and brews the next one.
As the sky darkens, they prepare to leave. Old Madame Shen tells King Li to take them to dinner.
Jiang Shan speaks before she can. No need for the trouble. They'll eat at home. Old Madame Shen accepts this. She asks King Li to at least see them downstairs. Shen Qingli tells old Madame Shen she still has something to handle and will come again tomorrow.
Old Madame Shen says flatly, "Come if you want to or don't," but she doesn't really mean it.
Even she can see that Qingli visits constantly and is satisfied by it. What she's unsatisfied with is simpler.
She can see Shan Qingli still intends to go through with the divorce.
In the elevator lobby, they run into Shen Shenran heading up, backpack on, big eyes, cheerful greeting.
She's stopping to see her grandmother before heading back to school.
Qingli asks why she hasn't left yet. Shenran blinks and steps into the elevator before they can chat further.
Outside, as they walk toward the car, Jiang Shan tells King Li, no need to see them off. She doesn't insist. He and his grandmother head to the car. Just as they're about to get in, Guan steps out of his vehicle again. Old Madame Jiang glances over and says quietly, so he hasn't left yet. She watches Shen Qingli walk toward Guan and recalls that long disappearance from the ward.
They really do have a close relationship, she says. Jiang Shan doesn't respond.
He presses the accelerator. The car moves.
But just before they leave, he catches a flash of movement. Shen Shenran bursting out of the hospital entrance. She spots Guan. Her face shifts from surprise to pure delight. She sprints toward him.
He glances once more, then turns his eyes to the road and drives away.
Behind him, Shen Shenran is already telling Guan she's his fan. She even went to his competition. Guan, calm and gracious, smiles when he realizes who she is, King Li's younger sister. Before he can speak, Shenran is already asking to add him on social media. He says yes.
She asks for an autograph. Before he can confirm, King Li steps in. I'll bring you a signed photo. Shenran beams, says thank you, and sprints back into the hospital. Crisis managed, warmth maintained.
In the moving car, old Madame Jiang suddenly says, King Li is at the hospital. Where did Nanian go? Before Jiang Shan can answer, her expression goes cold. She tells him firmly, sue for custody. No matter what, you must get Nanian back. He pauses, then says quietly,
Okay. When they arrive home, he gets out of the car and his phone rings. Nandian's number. He looks at it. He doesn't answer. He knows he hasn't been picking up her calls lately.
He can feel it when they're together, the slight distance that wasn't there before.
She's been calling more, and he keeps missing her. The phone rings again. He turns it off.
Inside, he sits down for dinner, and almost immediately, the Jiang family's landline rings.
He knows who it is before he even picks it up. He gets there first.
As soon as she hears his voice, Nanian's mood lifts. "Dad!" She asks if she can come over. Before he can think too long, old Madame Jiang is already beside him.
She's heard enough. She tells him to call Shen Li and have Natanyan brought over right away. He relays the message to Nanian and before hanging up adds, "Tell your mom first."
Nanian says, "Okay, bright and easy. The Jiang family wants to wait for her before eating, but he says no."
An hour later, Nadian runs through the door calling for him. He straightens her clothes, says calmly, "I'll heat your food."
She follows him into the kitchen like a shadow, and old Madame Jiang watches them with quiet satisfaction.
While she eats, Nanian tells him about her day, a maze with friends, meow meow, a puzzle.
He listens quietly, asking just enough to keep her talking. Old Madame Jiang's expression, however, darkens. She'd assumed Shen Li was raising Nanian herself. Now she's learning that someone else is watching the child.
Nanian doesn't notice any of this. She tells him a friend invited her to stay for dinner, but she wanted to come here.
He asks if she remembered to thank them. She did. That's enough for him. After dinner, in the living room, old Madame Jiang makes her move. She asks Nanian sweetly if she'd like to stay a little longer at Grandma's house.
Before Jiang Shan can say a word, Nanian says yes, and then old Madame Jiang adds the clause.
Since you've agreed, you have to stay at least a week. No going back on your word.
Nanian nods happily. Jiang Shan frowns. He doesn't say anything.
Old Madame Jiang says softly to him, "It's different when you're the one who raised the child. Nanian is still yours." Then Nanian pulls out a game and asks him to play with her. He raises an eyebrow. "Are you sure?" She nods. He agrees, already predicting she'll want to go back to Kingly in 2 days.
After a few seconds, she understands what he meant by that look. She insists, "I already promised Grandma." Then she remembers she hasn't told Mom yet. She picks up her phone and calls.
Shen Li picks up immediately. Nanyan tells her she's staying a week at the Jiang house.
Kingly says, "Mom knows. If you need anything, just call." Then the call ends. Simple as breathing.
Old Madame Jiang had been half-braced for a fight. Instead, she got nothing but ease.
She asked Nanian, "Your mom agreed? Just like that?" Nanian looks confused.
Why wouldn't she? Mom always agrees to what I want. She treats me really well. For a long moment, old Madame Jiang has absolutely nothing to say to that. That Monday morning, Changmo holds its investment promotion conference at a downtown hotel.
Jiang Shan drops Nanian at school first, then drives straight there.
Backstage, he and Su Wanning run through the process. Bai Shan and Wen Rotong arrive shortly after.
When Su Wanning takes the stage, Wen Rotong listens with full attention.
When Jiang Shan steps up to introduce the products and answer technical questions, she frowns. That this segment was handed to Jiang Shan doesn't sit right with her. She starts to drift.
She assumes someone prepared a script for him. She half expects him to stumble.
He doesn't stumble, not even close. He handles every question cleanly, without hesitation.
Wen Rotong loses focus, but across the room, Bai Xian's gaze is completely fixed on him. She isn't performing attention. She's genuinely listening. Every single word.
That afternoon, Wen Rotong heads to Zundu. When she arrives, the office is buzzing.
The project team had been stuck on a technical problem for over a week. Zimingguan just solved it. Everyone is relieved, grateful, excited. A PhD from a world-renowned university, they say? Truly different. Wen Rutong feels something warm hearing all of it. She congratulates him genuinely.
Guan smiles and deflects. It isn't all his credit. King Li has taught him a great deal.
Everyone assumes he's being modest. He isn't. He means every word.
He picks up his phone and finds footage from Chong Mo's morning conference, the segment where Jiang Shan spoke.
He watches it with the same focus he brings to everything technical. No annoyance, no contempt.
Wen Rotong watches his expression carefully and finds nothing. No trace of hostility toward Jiang Shan.
She thinks back to the bitterness she herself had shown on Christmas. She feels small by comparison.
Before she can reflect further, someone else leans in. Chong Mo's technology is genuinely impressive.
Guan agrees simply. Yes. His eyes stay on the screen.
Then he says something Ruotong doesn't expect. Studying under Su Wanyining has always been his dream.
He'd met her once before. Didn't meet her standards. He says it openly, without embarrassment.
When Rotong tells him to keep working, she believes in him. Before he responds, Shang Li walks in.
She apologizes for being late. When Rotong says she arrived early, no need for apologies.
A brief smile passes between King Li and Guan. Then she and Wen Rotong head upstairs. Zeli Hai calls Guan in a state of barely controlled anxiety.
He had watched the conference. Chong Mo's technology's in a different league, and their own tech company has been bleeding money for years. No results, no progress. He's desperate, and he knows it.
He calls, hoping Guan might have some answer, some path forward. The call ends without one.
At home, Zeli Hai stares at the conference video on his large screen, rubbing his temples.
Then he watches the segment where Jiang Shan speaks, articulate, composed, commanding the room entirely. He asks bitterly why all the attention lands on Jiang Shan. Sun Yuking answers coolly.
That isn't the point. Jiang Shan is riding on Su Waining's coattails. What matters is the technology itself.
Zeli Hai understands her logic. He agrees, but he also can't stop staring at the stage.
Because across the room in that video, Bai Xian is watching Jiang Shan with focused, unblinking eyes.
She's never looked at Sanjian that way. Not once. And Sanjian knows it.
The conference ends around 10 that night. Jiang Shan drives into the parking lot and pauses.
He's returned to his apartment out of habit. He hadn't even decided to. He just ended up here.
His phone shows missed calls from both the Zhang family and Nanian, including a message after 8 asking when he's coming back.
He glances at it, sets the phone down, showers.
The next morning, before he's even fully awake, Namanian is calling again.
He lets it ring out. The Jiang family landline calls next. He picks up.
His grandmother sounds worried, not accusatory. She passes the phone to Nanian.
The girl's voice is quieter than usual. Dad, when will you come back?
He reassures her. Tonight. Then remembers something and adds, call your mom to have the driver take you to school today.
Nadian asks where he lives now. Can she come find him after school?
He refuses, firmly but gently. I won't be off work when you finish school. Call your mom if you're bored.
She accepts this, says okay. He hangs up and goes to work.
That afternoon, he leaves early and returns to the Jiang residence for dinner.
Old Madame Jiang isn't in good spirits. Nayan isn't there. She'd gone to eat with Chongqing Li.
Old Madame Jiang tells him seriously, you need to spend more time with her.
He says, I know. Let's eat first. She doesn't push further.
Around 9 that evening, the security booth notifies him of a visitor, Chongqing Li's car.
He hasn't even processed it when his phone rings. Nano Kanian, calling from inside the car. Old Madame Jiang sees what's happening and immediately tells the gate to let them in.
Nanian bursts out of the car the moment it stops, running straight to him. Dad, I'm back!
He straightens her clothes with a quiet smile. Then Shang Li gets out behind her.
She's carrying Nadian's forgotten backpack and a small box of cake.
She walks toward them. Jiang Shan says nothing. Old Madame Jiang gives a cold nod.
Only when Nanian realizes she'd forgotten her things does she thank her mother.
Jiang Shan takes the cake. Nadian starts talking about how delicious it is. He cuts her off gently.
Nayan, say goodbye to your mom. Nayan blinks, then says, Mom, you're leaving?
King Li smiles, nods to old Madame Jiang, then turns and walks back to her car.
Jiang Shan doesn't move to see her off. He takes Nanyan's hand and goes inside.
As soon as they're in, Nan announces, the cake is for Grandma, strawberry, your favorite.
He sets it aside, says he just ate. Old Madame Jiang does the same. They'll have it another time.
What neither of them says is that the cake carries the faint scent of Zimingguan's cologne.
Nanian goes upstairs, showers, and her phone rings. Mom's voice on the other end.
King Li tells her, Grandpa's coming home tomorrow. After school, someone will pick her up for dinner.
Nayan turns to Jiang Shan immediately. Dad, aren't you coming too? In the past, every time Shenlin Song returned, the whole family would gather. Nanyan remembered this clearly. Before Jiang Shan can respond, Shan Qingli answers for him from the phone. Your dad has things to do.
He hears every word. The call is on speaker. She was already thinking of him when she said it.
They are divorcing. There is no reason for him to walk into the Shen family home anymore.
She knows that. She's protecting him from an awkward situation, even now. She hangs up quietly. The next afternoon, Bai Xian and her technical team arrive at Changmo for a work session. She's been easy to work with throughout. Cooperative, prepared, saving him time at every turn.
He's grown somewhat warmer toward her as a result. When she arrives, he sets aside what he's doing.
After an hour, her phone rings. She steps outside. He hears almost nothing through the door. She comes back and says to him quietly, My father is back. He'll be home for dinner tonight. A beat of silence. Then, I'll have to trouble you to handle things here. Thank you. After she returns, her gaze lingers on him thoughtfully. He's deep in work. He doesn't notice. When he stands to walk her team out, she asks, Are you working overtime tonight? He says yes without thinking. There's still plenty to handle. Bai Xian pauses for just a moment, so he won't be going back to the Shen residence tonight. Something shifts in her expression. She asks, carefully, Are you free later? Let's have dinner. He waves it off. Too much work. Can't leave. She starts to offer takeout, then stops herself.
They aren't officially divorced yet. Saying that much would cross a line. She holds it back.
After walking her to the lobby, he goes straight back upstairs. She watches him go. Only when he disappears does she look away. Then she turns to Liu Chong, one of her lead engineers.
She has a favor to ask, a friend who needs guidance in natural language processing, a top-tier mentor.
Liu Chong listens, then says, Honestly, I'm skilled in this field, but I'm not above Jiang Shan or Su Wanyining.
Bai Xian goes still. Liu Chong says it clearly. If you want real help, they'd be more effective.
She hadn't expected that. Liu Chong is well known in the field. King Li had sought her out specifically.
Su Wanning praises him in public constantly, but she'd assumed some of that was personal affection. Now Liu Chong is saying the same thing without any bias. Bai Xian doesn't respond for a moment.
Then she says quietly, Both of them have personal conflicts with my friend. Liu Chong doesn't press further.
That evening, when Bai Xian and Liu Chong arrive at the private room, Zimingguan is already there. He's immediately engaged, humble, asking Liu Chong technical questions with the focus of someone who genuinely wants to learn. Bai Xian sits nearby, quiet, only half present. Zimingguan glances over and jokes gently. Bored?
She tells him to go ahead, don't mind her. He does exactly that.
Liu Chong is impressed by his level and his eagerness. She helps him map out a full learning path.
They agree to meet again the next day, New Year's, half a day of instruction. He thanks her warmly. After dinner, after seeing Liu Chong off, Zimingguan turns to Bai Xian. Thanks for arranging this, Xian.
She says simply, We grew up together. This is nothing. You should get some rest.
He asks if she's coming tomorrow. She says she has something else going on. She won't be there.
He accepts it without question. She waits until his car leaves. Then she takes out her phone. She finds Jiang Shan's number.
She hesitates. Then she calls.
He's still at the company. When he answers, she hears the noise around him and almost pulls back.
She asks if he's still at the office this late. He says yes, simply.
He tells her directly, "I'm free tomorrow. What does she want to do?"
She doesn't answer right away. She's thinking about Nadian going back to the Shen family.
Thinking of him working until midnight and then being asked to spend his day off with someone else's child.
But she hears something in his voice, not exhaustion, steadiness. He isn't complaining.
She finally says, "If you're tired, we can do it another time." He insists it's fine. Tomorrow works. She hesitates once more, then says, "All right." That same evening, the Shen family is leaving a restaurant when they run straight in to the Wen family.
Greetings are exchanged all around. Wenru Tong scans the Shen family with quiet precision. She sees Shang Li, Nanian, the grandparents, the cousins, everyone she's seen before.
No unfamiliar man. No Jiang Shan. She wonders, have they really already divorced?
After pleasantries, the Shen family heads back to the hospital. Shen Linsong stays overnight there.
Shang Li and the others return to the old residence. Shen Sunran immediately asks about the autograph.
Li tosses her the car keys. "It's in the car. Go get it." Shinran flies out the door.
She comes back with notebooks signed by Zimin Guan, but they aren't the poster type, wall-worthy, frameable.
She pouts. Li says flatly, "You are not suitable to have that kind." Shinran doesn't dare push further.
Later, Nanian wanders over to Li with her tablet. "A new cartoon is out tomorrow, Mom. Can we go?"
Li says gently, "Mom won't be free. Grandpa's back. There will be visitors all morning."
She adds, "If you want to go, have your dad take you." Nyan thinks about it.
Then what about Uncle Z? Li says smoothly. Uncle Z has something to study. Don't disturb him.
Nanian looks disappointed for half a second, then picks up her phone. She'll ask Dad. Jiang Shan sees the call coming in. He just got home. He doesn't pick up.
Nanian assumes he's busy. He probably doesn't have time either, she tells herself.
Li glances at Shin Shinran nearby and makes a quiet decision. Let your aunt take you. Shinran had plans with friends, but Li had just gotten her an idol's autograph.
She agrees without much argument. The problem, as always, is quietly solved.
The next day at noon, Jiang Shan arrives at a private room in a new restaurant. Miao spots him first and sprints over. "Uncle Jiang." He catches it in a hug.
He doesn't say much. Neither does Bai Xian. The food, it turns out, suits him perfectly.
After lunch, Bai Xian has already booked movie tickets. Miao Miao wants the large popcorn.
She announces she'll share it with Auntie and Uncle Jiang. Bai Xian smiles and buys it without question.
Inside the darkened cinema, Miao Miao sits between them, clutching the bucket and feeding herself happily.
She keeps urging both of them to eat. Jiang Shan takes one piece, then another later.
The second time he reaches over, his hand meets Bai Xian's midair. Their fingers brush.
Both of them stop. She pulls back first. "Sorry." He says it's fine, calm and unhurried. He notices there isn't much popcorn left and stops reaching. She thinks he's avoiding her. Her gaze drops. She stops eating too. Neither of them says anything about it.
The movie continues. The moment passes, but something small has been noted by both of them.
Meanwhile, at the Shen residence, a young girl named Mingming runs in to play with Nanian.
She'd just been to the movies with her father, and she'd seen someone there.
She tells Nanian, "I saw your dad at the cinema."
Nanian looks up from her puzzle. How is that possible? Dad is extremely busy. He doesn't have time.
Mingming insists, "That was definitely your dad. And he wasn't alone. He was with another kid."
Nanian goes very still. "About your height," Mingming adds. "Super cute."
Something in Nanian snaps. She grabs a handful of puzzle pieces and throws them hard at Mingming. "Impossible. You're lying." Mingming throws them back. "I'm not lying." The noise from the room brings Seng Qiang walking in, then Shen Li not far behind.
Nanian's eyes are red.
She runs straight for her mother. Shan Qingli catches her and carries her out.
Once they're alone in the hallway, she asks quietly, "What happened?"
Before Nanian can answer, her thoughts go somewhere they hadn't gone before.
Her father praising Taiyan for being cute. Another child. A child cuter than her.
The tears come before the words. Shan Qingli watches her daughter cry and says nothing yet.
Back in the playroom, Song Qiang has heard the whole story from Mingming. She tells Nanyan carefully. Grandma believes Mingming isn't lying, but it was probably just someone who looked like him. The Jiang family doesn't have a child around Nanian's age, and if he had time, why wouldn't he come home? Nanian hadn't fully believed it to begin with. This is enough to calm her down. Mostly. But then she remembers the only child who could fit that description, Taiyan.
She grabs Shan Qingli's phone before anyone can say anything and dials her own father's number.
He's at the arcade. He sees Shan Qingli's name on the screen and hangs up without hesitation.
Nadian stares at the phone. Dad didn't answer. Her lower lip trembles.
Qingli says gently, "He's probably busy. Don't disturb him. Mom will take you out to eat tonight."
Nian hears the word busy and feels the reassurance settle in her chest. She accepts it.
She even asks if Uncle Z can come. Qingli smiles and says yes. Her mood lifts instantly.
But the worry about Taiyan hasn't completely left. She calls her teacher and asks him to find her contact.
Teacher Yang is surprised. In his experience, Nanian has never shown much interest in Taiyan.
But he gets the information and passes it along. Nanian makes a video call.
Taiyan answers right away, bright and happy. Teacher said you were looking for me. Do you want to play?
Nanian skips the pleasantries. Where are you right now? Taiyan flips the camera around.
Home. Grandparents over, making dumplings with Dad. Wanna come? The family looks real. The scene looks real.
Nadian asks directly, "You didn't go to the movies with my dad today?" Taiyan shakes her head. "Not at all."
I haven't seen Uncle Jiang in a long time. Nanian exhales. Okay. You can keep making dumplings. She almost hangs up, then slightly awkwardly. Goodbye. Taiyan nods sweetly. Goodbye.
At the arcade, Jiang Shan is deep in a game, completely unbothered.
Beixian and Miao Miao have already left. He plays alone for another hour, mind drifting to his thesis.
He'd been working on it before today's outing. The last section just needed revision. He goes home, revises for 3 hours with careful attention, then sends it to Jojo for review. Once it's gone, he stretches, goes downstairs, and finds his grandmother standing at the door in the dark. She's waiting for Nanian. Her arms are already slightly open when headlights sweep the courtyard.
Nanian jumps out of the car before it fully stops. She sprints toward him first.
But she sees old Madame Zhang bending down with open arms and swerves. Grandma gets the first hug.
"Have you eaten?" old Madame Zhang asks. Nanian nods. "I ate with Mom. Not hungry."
Then she pulls away and stretches her arms up toward Jiang Shan.
"Dad, carry me."
He bends and lifts her. When she settles against him, he catches the faint trace of another cologne.
His expression stays completely still. He doesn't react.
Nanian is in school the next morning and back at the Jiang residence by that evening. Before she settles in for the night, he texts Shen Qingli, "Have the driver pick Nanian up going forward."
"Don't bring her to me without notifying me first." The message is clear, direct, no warmth in it.
Qingli doesn't reply that night. Not a word. The next day, after he drops Nanian at school, she finally replies, "Okay." 2 letters, that's all.
Then Monday morning arrives with a message from Jojo. The thesis is clean, submitted.
That evening, he and Su Wanning take Jojo out to celebrate over dinner. She accepts this time.
They pull into the restaurant parking lot and get out. Jiang Shan doesn't notice Bai Xian's car nearby.
But Bai Xian sees them. She pauses just before stepping out, Miao Miao drowsy in her arms.
She waits 2 or 3 minutes, watching, before finally getting out of the car. Inside,
Jikingu has already arrived. She greets them. A few minutes later, another car pulls up.
Shan Qingli, Zimingguan, Nanyan, and Sanjian all step out together.
Sanjian spots Bai Xian first and lights up. Sister Shi. She looks through him, doesn't respond.
He goes quiet immediately, the smile stuck somewhere between eager and deflated.
Nadian walks over to Meow Meow right away, noticing she looks tired. Meow shakes her head. I'm fine.
The two girls settle into a corner of the sofa together. The adults arrange themselves around the table. Zimingguan pulls a book from his bag almost immediately. I'll read for a bit. Don't mind me.
Jikingu raises her eyebrows. You bring books to dinner? A bit much, don't you think?
Sanjin says easily, my cousin's been like this lately. Incredibly hard-working.
Bai Xian already knew he was studying under Liu Chong. She says nothing about it.
But then a thought surfaces. When she arrived downstairs earlier, Jojo was between Su Wanning and Jiang Shan.
She'd assumed it was because of Swanning, but Jiang Shan had been speaking directly with Jojo.
Changmo launched its first major projects just months after Jiang Shan joined. Same timeline, same scope.
Liu Chong had said clearly, I'm not above Jiang Shan in this field.
And then, something clicks. Su Wanning gave up on recruiting Zimingguan without hesitation because of Jiang Shan. Not because of anything between them romantically, because she already had someone more capable. The thought arrives all at once, and Bai Xian stands up abruptly, startling everyone at the table.
Are you all right? Several voices ask at once. She blinks back to the room.
Her eyes settle for a moment on Shang Qingli and Zimingguan sitting side by side. Then she shakes her head slowly. Nothing. She sits back down. Sanjian asks what's wrong. She doesn't seem to hear him.
She turns to Meow Meow instead. Are you thirsty? Meow nods. She pours water. The moment passes.
But Bai Xian stays quiet for the rest of the meal, the realization still rearranging things inside her head.
Across the sofa, Meow Meow presents Nanyan with a small figurine from the New Year's Day movie.
Nanyan accepts it happily. You went to the movies too? Meow nods excitedly.
My aunt and uncle took me. Uncle is really good at games. We stayed to play afterward.
Nanyan listens with a pang. Her aunt had taken her too, but had to leave right after the movie.
No figurines, no arcade. She'd missed all of it.
She says quietly, my dad is also really good at games. Next time you should bring your uncle and I'll bring my dad.
Meow Meow grins. Deal. As she says it, she notices Shen Qingli glancing over at them.
Namian catches it too. Mom, what's wrong? Qingli smiles. Nothing. Keep talking. Let's order.
During the meal, Jikingu asks Bai Xian, has the Chongmo cooperation been going smoothly?
Bai Xian nods. Quite smoothly. Jikingu raises an eyebrow. No trouble at all?
Zimingguan pauses slightly over his book at that. He knows what Jikingu is really asking.
Has Jiang Shan caused problems, created awkwardness, made cooperation difficult?
Bai Shen lowers her gaze and answers simply, no. Jikingu is genuinely surprised. Really?
Zimingguan turns the page. Shang Qingli sips her tea. Neither of them adds anything.
2 hours later, dinner wraps up and the group leaves. Jojo and Jiang Shan head out shortly after.
At home, he opens the materials Jojo gave him, AI development roadmaps from multiple countries.
Conceptual stage work, cutting-edge thinking that hasn't become products yet. He reads all night.
By the time he looks up, sunlight is already filling the room. He calls Su Wayne.
She answers half awake. I knew you hadn't slept either. Go eat first. We'll talk after.
Su Wanning slumps in her chair and says urgently, inspiration disappears in an instant. Talk to me now.
He takes his breakfast downstairs. He's about to call her back when Peng Shan calls first.
The property certificates for the 3 villas are ready. When can Jiang Shan collect them?
He'd nearly forgotten. He tells Peng Shan to bring them over and compensates him for the trip.
Then he and Su Weining work straight through until noon, when their brains finally hit a wall.
He'd planned to visit old Madame Shen that afternoon,
but he's been awake all night. He tells his grandmother to move the visit to the evening. She takes one look at him and agrees.
He sleeps until nearly 6. When they arrive at the hospital, Shen King Li isn't there.
They stay 2 hours. As they're about to leave, King Li comes back.
She sees them preparing to go and says politely, "Thank you for coming to see Grandma."
Neither of them responds. She presses the elevator button, then asks, "Did you receive the property certificates?"
He says calmly, "Not yet. No need to send them. You can go back."
She pauses but doesn't push, doesn't ask why. The doors close.
In the elevator, his grandmother asks, "What property certificates?" He explains simply.
Part of the divorce settlement. She gave me some properties. Old Madame Jiang nods.
If she gave them to you, keep them. That's the end of the conversation.
Pang Shan has arrived by the time they get home. Jiang Shan takes the certificates upstairs.
He doesn't file them carefully. He doesn't examine them again. He just opens a cabinet and slides them in.
He showers, barely makes it to the bed before sleep takes him.
The next morning, as he pulls into Chongmo's underground parking, something makes him slow down.
Bai Xian is sitting in her car outside, window lowered, clearly waiting.
He rolls down his own window. She walks over. "President Bin, morning."
She tells him she saw him the other night at the restaurant with Su Weining and Jojo.
He's still processing why she's brought it up when she asks directly, "Are you Jojo's student?"
He freezes, frowns slightly. She reads the answer in his expression before he can say a word. "So those 2 projects," she continues carefully, "were led and developed by you."
He presses his lips together and asks flatly, "What exactly do you want?"
She asks one more thing. The programming language Chongmo built, the one everyone's been talking about.
That was also you, wasn't it? He says nothing. She already has her answer.
She works through the math in her head. If he created that language at 17 years old,
Then everything people have been crediting to Su Weining, the real weight of it belongs to Jiang Shan.
She looks at him, and for the first time, sees not the man left behind in a divorce, but something else entirely.
He finally speaks. "Did you come here this early just to tell me this?"
She nods slowly. "I just needed to be certain. A clear answer."
then she says, "Don't worry, I won't tell anyone." He believes her. Her eyes hold no performance.
She steps back, creates space between them. "You should go inside. I won't keep you."
She turns and walks away. He watches her go for a moment, then drives into the parking structure.
After that, he and Su Weining work through the JoJo materials day after day.
Early mornings and late nights, the company becomes the only world that exists.
More than 10 days pass in this rhythm. Then, one morning, he's at the airport for a business pickup.
He waits over 20 minutes before his contact, Mr. Tong, finally appears.
Just behind Mr. Tong, a familiar voice, a girl about 17, waving excitedly across the arrivals hall.
"Mom, brother, Dad and I are here." The voice stops him in his tracks.
He turns, sees Sun Yu King and Zimin Guan walking forward, smiling, Zelihai beside them.
He unclenches his hand, turns back, puts on his greeting face, extends his hand to Mr. Tong.
From across the hall, Zelihai spots him. Zimin Guan notices too, and stays composed.
Sun Yu King's smile flickers. The air around all of them tightens imperceptibly.
Somewhere behind him, a voice says, "What a good-looking family of 4. Are they celebrities?"
Such a nice family atmosphere. He closes the car door and shuts out the noise. At noon, the restaurant coincidence continues. Both parties arrive at the same entrance at the same time.
Zimin Guan quietly signals Zelihai, "Don't worry, the divorce is nearly final. No incident will happen."
Mr. Tong is making pleasant conversation when he suddenly goes quiet. Something is off in the air.
Then Shang King Li arrives, steps out of her car. Mr. Tong's face lights up. "President Shen?"
She shakes his hand warmly and asks when he arrived. He suggests they all have dinner. Why not tonight?
She cuts that idea off cleanly. My schedule is full today. Another time.
Su Wanning watches them chat and mutters under her breath, "Half a month of peace, and here we are again."
Mr. Tong grows curious and asks Jiang Shan directly, "Are you and President Shen a couple?" Jiang Shan almost laughs. No, his delivery is so cold. Mr. Tong doesn't believe it. He assumes they've argued. The topic drops when his phone rings.
Over the past 2 weeks, Nanian had called several times. He didn't answer any of them.
But Shan Qingli kept her promise. Whatever she told Nanian, the girl never showed up unannounced.
The cooperation with Mr. Tong wraps up smoothly. 2 days later, both parties sign the contract.
When he returns to the meeting room to rest, Secretary Khan appears with a mountain of envelopes.
Year-end banquet invitations. At least 20 or 30 of them spread across the table.
He and Su Wanning go through them. The Z family sent one, and both his name and Su Wanning's appear on it.
Su Wanning holds it up with a dry smile. Our company has become so attractive that the Z family is courting us.
She doesn't say what both of them are thinking, that the Z family doesn't know where the real technology comes from.
Only Bai Xian's invitation is different. She sent one for each of them separately. Thoughtful.
Su Wanning goes through the rest quickly. The W family, the Z family, too politically complicated.
They'll attend only Bai Xian's event. Everyone else gets a polite gift and no further contact.
Shen Group, Zundu, Xiani. No gift, no contact. Cut completely. He agrees with every word.
The next day, Jiang Shan goes to Zundu with a team to wrap up year-end work. Almost immediately, he runs into Zimin Guan in the corridor. Neither one acknowledges the other.
He gets to work. After a while, he feels eyes on him and looks up.
It's Zimin Guan's younger sister, who's been in Duchong for a few days and came to see the office.
She stares at him with unmasked curiosity. As soon as she realizes he's noticed, she looks away.
She thought he was a Zundu employee. She asks her guide quietly, "What's he working on?"
Probably something related to maintaining the language system, the guide says. She considers going over.
But they look busy. She holds back and goes off to find her brother instead.
In the corridor, she runs into Bai Xian coming in for a reading.
Bai Xian takes one look at her. Young, student energy, clearly not from the workplace, and guesses.
The receptionist confirms it. Zimin Guan's younger sister.
Bai Shan nods hello. Then she spots Jiang Shan working across the room and walks directly toward him.
Z blinks. Wasn't this woman supposed to be Qingli's friend? Why does she feel cold?
Bai Xian reaches him. He looks up. A brief pause on both sides.
She asks, "Will you be at my company's banquet this weekend?" He nods without hesitation. No matter what, he tells her, she helped him, and their cooperation has been good. He has no reason to skip. She smiles. "Thank you for the honor." He waves it off. "You're welcome. Go ahead with your work." She stays nearby during his meeting, listening quietly, occasionally adding a comment. Bai Xian technically holds shares in Zundu, but doesn't run daily operations. She's here for the annual meeting.
After Zimin Guan finishes his meeting and spots his sister, he asks if she's toured the whole company.
She has. Jin Kingu arrives next and immediately compliments Z. She sizes up Z with warm amusement. "Good genes," she says. "Not wasted." Z smiles and starts to respond.
Actually, she says shyly, she's already met Sister Shi. Jikingu raises both brows.
Zimin Guan says, "She is already here?" Z points toward Bai Xian, still standing beside Jiang Shan.
Ji Kingu and Zimin Guan look over. Bai Xian's posture toward him is noticeably different, gentle, present.
Zimin Guan doesn't react beyond noting it. Business cooperation explains it. He moves on. Z leans in and asks Ji Kingu quietly, "So that's Sister Shi's boyfriend?"
Ji Kingu nearly chokes. "No such relationship. Stop making things up."
Before the meeting starts, Bai Xian asks him one more thing. Zindu's banquet. You won't be going, right?
He confirms he won't. She nods, something settling in her expression. She says nothing more.
As she heads back toward Ji Kingu, Shen Qingli arrives.
King Li sees him working there. Her eyes pass over him briefly. Then she turns to Bai Xian. Time for the meeting. Let's go up.
To Z, who has been watching everything carefully, King Li says warmly, I had refreshments set out in my office.
Go sit up there if you get bored. Z's face lights up. They've gotten along well in just a few days.
After the meeting, the shareholders had to lunch together. Bai Xian lingers.
She asks Ji Qinggu quietly, when will King Li's divorce procedures be done?
Ji Qinggu thinks nothing of it. Should have been done already, but an equity transfer needs to clear first.
Soon, though, Bai Xian says, understood. She doesn't say what she understands.
The day of Bai Xian's company banquet arrives. She meets Jiang Shan and Su Wanning at the entrance.
When she sees him, she stops for just a fraction of a second. He's wearing a tailored blue suit.
Broad shoulders, clean lines, entirely composed. She's seen him many times. Tonight, it's different.
She pulls herself together and greets them both. President Su, Mr. Jiang. Inside, Shang King Li and Ziming Guan arrive and see him. Ziming Guan looks, notes it, and looks away.
He thinks simply, so what if he's handsome? He has no real substance to attract others.
He has more than just looks. He turns his gaze back to Shang King Li beside him and smiles. Shang King Li had glanced at Jiang Shan for exactly 1 second before looking away. That second told Bai Xian something. She lowers her head, smiles faintly, goes to greet them.
At the banquet, Jiang Shan and Su Wanning move through the room like they belong there entirely.
Partners who've worked closely with Chang Mo come to greet them from all directions.
Several of them had already tried to recruit Jiang Shan privately. Tonight, one tries in front of Su Wanini.
Our company is well established. Benefits are excellent. Freedom is high. Name your conditions.
Su Wanning stares at the man with barely concealed outrage. He declines politely, but firmly.
No intention of leaving Changmo. Thank you for the kind offer. The recruiter sighs heavily.
A moment later, someone asks him, what happened? You look like you lost $1 billion deal.
He says, more or less, a rare talent. Won't budge no matter what I offer.
Ziming Guan, across the room, deep in conversation with Liu Cheng, has no idea any of this is happening.
Wen Rotong approaches him, pleasantries exchanged. He introduces Liu Cheng as his current mentor.
He says he's gained a great deal, never giving up on his dream. She admires that openly.
She watches him focus and finds it genuinely hard to look away.
Then someone comes to pull her into another conversation. She steps away. Coming back through the crowd later, she spots Shang King Li near Jiang Shan holding a piece of cake. He doesn't reach for it. She gets closer, trying to hear what's being said.
King Li notices her and greets her. When Rutong asks what they were discussing,
King Li smiles. We haven't had the chance to talk yet. When Rotong says nothing.
Jiang Shan doesn't greet her at all. He walks past and moves away.
Only then does Wen Rutong notices King Li is holding 2 drinks. She'd brought one for him.
He hadn't taken it. King Li offers it to Wen Rutong instead, then excuses herself. I'm going over there.
Wen Rotong follows her gaze, sees that Jiang Shan is walking towards Su Wanning and Ziming Guan.
She understands. King Li rushed over to make sure Ziming Guan wouldn't be caught between those two. Wen Rotong follows. When she arrives, Ziming Guan is already there, but hasn't said anything yet.
He addresses Su Wanning. President Su. Su Wanning ignores him completely and looks only at Jiang Shan. You're back. Are you all right? He shakes his head. I'm fine. Nothing happened. As King Li and Wen Rutong reach them, King Li hands Ziming Guan the drink from her hand.
His eyes soften when he sees her. He takes it naturally. What are you talking about? He says he wanted to ask President Su some questions, but hadn't gotten the chance yet.
King Li nods and turns to Su Wanning. I wonder when you might be free for a meal together.
The question is transparent. She's trying to arrange a meeting for Ziming Guan and Su Wanning.
Su Wanning's laugh is short and cold. Sorry, I'm not free at any time. Not a single opening.
Without waiting for a response, she says to Jiang Shan, let's go.
He nods. Without another glance at any of them, he turns and walks with her. The two of them disappear into the crowd, moving as one, leaving nothing behind but the sound of other conversations.
Shang Qingli watches their retreating figures for a moment. Her expression doesn't shift.
Zi Mingguan watches too, then opens his book again. He has studying to do. Wen Rutong stands in the middle of all of them, working out what she just witnessed. She had thought Jiang Shan was someone to feel sorry for. She's no longer certain of that. The evening moves on. The year is ending, and everyone in this room is preparing for what comes next. Shang Qingli knows the divorce paperwork will clear soon. She has already thought through every detail.
Zi Mingguan knows the same, and he is ready, patient, capable, his eyes on the future, not the past.
Bai Xian knows something she hadn't known a month ago, about Jiang Shan, about herself. And Jiang Shan, he leaves the banquet the same way he entered it, calm, contained, saying less than he knows. He had walked into this year with nothing but a daughter, a name, and a marriage that was already over.
He never argued, never pleaded, never reached across the distance she placed between them.
He let her draw every line, let her close every account, let her believe she was the one setting him free. But the man who walked through that exit, Zhou's student, the real architect of Changmo's technology, the man who turned down every recruiter, who built something from nothing while everyone assumed he was being carried. That man was never the version of himself anyone in that room had been underestimating. The property certificates sit in a cabinet drawer, barely glanced out. The 1 billion transferred to his account sits in the same quiet indifference. She gave them as a farewell. He accepted them without urgency, because he was never the one who was desperate. Nanyan still calls. Some nights he answers, some nights he doesn't. But she comes back to the Jiang residence, settles in beside old Madame Jiang, and plays her games. And every time she does, she runs toward her father first, then catches herself and hugs Grandma, then comes back to him. She always comes back to him. There is still a divorce to finalize, still paperwork to complete, still an equity transfer to clear, still a new year approaching, full of banquets neither of them planned to share. Shang Qingli will walk into it beside Zi Mingguan, composed, certain, as she always is. Jiang Shan will walk into it beside Su Weining, not as the man left behind, but as the man who was always there, waiting not for her to return, but for the world to catch up to what he already is. The line she keeps drawing between them, he never tried to cross it. But he also never pretended it didn't cost him anything to stand on his side of it. And in a story full of people who think they know each other, that honesty is its own kind of power. Bai Xian drives home from the banquet with the window cracked, cold air filling the car.
She thinks about the morning she waited outside Chengma, the question she couldn't stop herself from asking.
She thinks about the way he said, "I'm free tomorrow," without complaint, without performance. She thinks about the fact that she went to see Liu Chong for Zi Mingguan, and Liu Chong told her to go to Jiang Shan.
She thinks about a man who created a programming language at 17 and never once told anyone.
She doesn't know what to do with any of it yet, but she knows she can't unknow it. Miao Miao is asleep in the back seat, one cheek squished against the car door. Bai Shan adjusts the blanket over her, keeps driving, doesn't have answers, just questions that feel new.
Back at the Jiang residence, the house is quiet. Nanyan is asleep upstairs, slightly tilted on the pillow.
Old Madame Jiang has gone to bed. The lights downstairs are dim. Jiang Shan sits at the desk in his room, materials from Zhou spread across the surface. The whole country hasn't caught up to these ideas yet. He is thinking 3 steps ahead of the industry. He works without urgency, without the hunger of someone trying to prove something. Just a man doing what he was always going to do, regardless of who was watching. The divorce will be final soon. The papers will be signed. The chapter will officially close. And the world that had counted him out, board members, rivals, in-laws,
old acquaintances at banquets.
Will have to reckon, one by one, with what they missed while they were looking elsewhere.
Shang Qingli had called it drawing a line. He had called it her fear that he would cling.
But maybe it was simpler than either of them admitted. Two people who loved each other in different directions.
At the wrong moment, in the wrong order, with the wrong information about who the other really was.
She never knew the full shape of him. He never stopped knowing the full shape of her.
And maybe that asymmetry was always going to end them, regardless of who loved whom more.
The new year is almost here. The city outside is getting quieter. The parties are winding down.
Somewhere across town, Shang Qingli is settling the last paperwork before the year turns.
Somewhere across town, Zimin Guan is reviewing his notes from Liu Chong with steady, patient focus.
And in a quiet house on the edge of the Jiang family neighborhood, a small girl sleeps sideways on a pillow, while her father reads documents the rest of the world hasn't even imagined yet.
No dramatic confrontation waits at the end of this chapter. No last-minute reversal. Just the steady, unremarkable forward motion of people who have already made their choices.
He made his the moment he declined that Shen Group project, not out of pride, but out of clarity.
He would not be owed. He would not owe. He would walk out of this marriage the way he walked into it. Upright, self-sufficient, asking nothing from anyone he hadn't already earned the right to ask.
There's a cabinet drawer somewhere in this house with $1 billion worth of real estate certificates inside.
He put them away without ceremony, because the most important things he owns were never on paper.
A daughter who still runs toward him first. A mind that the world is only beginning to understand.
And a kind of quiet dignity that no divorce agreement, however generous, could ever have given him.
Some men fall apart when everything is taken. Jiang Shan simply kept building, in the silence where no one was watching.